to his very famous family. The Daily Beast reports that this is a win for Prince William, as Prince Andrew will never be photographed alongside Prince William again, they said.
For decades, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson have danced in and out of the spotlight, their story twisting between love, scandal, loyalty, and mystery. Once the golden couple of the British monarchy, they became its most unpredictable pair. Divorced, yet inseparable. Criticized, yet unbroken. Shrouded in rumors, yet still under the same roof. However, with the recent developments in the royal family, the truth is finally coming out. So, what truly binds them after all these years? Join us as we uncover the shocking revelation about Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson, stripping Andrew of royal titles. In an extraordinary and unprecedented move, Britain's King Charles has begun the formal process to strip his brother, Prince Andrew, of his royal titles and remove him from his residence at Windsor, marking the most dramatic step yet in an effort to contain the scandal surrounding the disgraced royal's links to convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. Buckingham Palace described the action in blunt terms as necessary censures, highlighting the severity of the situation and exposing the deepest rift within the British royal family in decades. Now, the question facing the monarchy and the wider British establishment is whether these steps are enough to prevent Andrew's association with Epstein from further damaging the royal reputation. Prince Andrew, aged 65, has been under scrutiny for more than 15 years over his controversial friendship with Epstein. The controversy intensified after the posthumous publication of a memoir by Virginia Giuffre, in which she claimed that Andrew assaulted her when she was a teenager. Andrew has consistently denied meeting Giuffre or engaging in any wrongdoing. Giuffre, who tragically died by suicide in April at the age of 41, became a central figure in the renewed focus on Andrew's actions. Her family released a statement saying, "Today, an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her. Truth and extraordinary courage." Sky Roberts, Giuffre's brother, told CNN that the day was joyous and happy and sad at the same time, reflecting the complicated mix of relief, grief, and vindication felt by the family. Buckingham Palace's statement made clear that Andrew will now lose his royal residence and titles. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. His lease on Royal Lodge, which until now gave him legal protection to remain there, has been formally terminated. He will relocate to alternative private accommodation, the statement said. These censures are deemed necessary, despite the fact that he continues to deny the allegations against him. Andrew is set to move to a property on the Sandringham estate, roughly 100 miles north of London. Unlike Royal Lodge, which sits within Windsor Great Park and is part of the Crown Estate managed on behalf of the British state, his new home will be privately funded by King Charles. Royal sources suggest that the move will not happen until after the Christmas holidays, possibly to avoid tension during the festive season, as Sandringham is traditionally where the royal family gathers for Christmas. Andrew had already been announced as excluded from the holiday celebrations. Earlier this month, Andrew had tried to reduce scrutiny by voluntarily giving up the use of his royal titles, but the gesture failed to halt the flow of negative headlines. Questions continue to swirl over how he was able to pay Giuffre a reportedly multi-million-dollar settlement in 2022, while maintaining a lavish lifestyle, despite not being a working royal since 2019. Public anger also grew after reports revealed that Andrew paid $1 million for Royal Lodge in 2003 and had only been required to pay a nominal rent, if demanded, each year since then, according to his lease agreement. Despite the announcement, Andrew remains eighth in line to the British throne. Removing him from the succession would require legislation and the agreement of Commonwealth nations around the world, a process that could take considerable time. The last time such measures were needed was in 1936, when Edward VIII abdicated. Rather than formally removing Andrew's title as Duke of York through an act of Parliament, King Charles will issue royal warrants to revoke his peerages. Andrew also held the titles of Earl of Inverness and Baron Killyleagh, and was a Knight Grand Cross of the Royal Victorian Order and a Royal Knight Companion of the Most Noble Order of the Garter. The stripping of these honors takes effect immediately, signaling the most significant royal sanction in decades and sending a clear message about accountability within the monarchy. But how did this whole scandal come to light? Let's find out. Prince Andrew and the Epstein Scandal. Prince Andrew and the Epstein Scandal was a BBC Newsnight episode that aired on BBC Two on the 16th of November 2019. The 58-minute program featured an interview between Emily Metliss and Prince Andrew, Duke of York, whose full name is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The discussion focused on his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, an American financier who had been convicted of crimes. Andrew's answers during the interview were met with widespread criticism from both the public and the media. By May 2020, it was announced that he would permanently step back from all public duties. Later, in October 2025, after more backlash related to his ties with Epstein, Andrew lost all his royal titles, honors, and styles, including his peerage title of Duke of York and even his birthright as a prince. Back in March 2011, BBC News reported that Andrew's friendship with Epstein was drawing a steady stream of criticism, and there were public calls for him to give up his position as a trade envoy. Around the same time, his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson admitted that Andrew had helped her by arranging for Epstein to pay £15,000 to cover part of her debts, which caused even more outrage. In December 2010, not long after Epstein was released from prison, photographs surfaced showing Andrew walking with him in Central Park, New York City. By July 2011, Andrew was removed from his trade envoy role, and it was reported that he had completely ended his friendship with Epstein. On 30 December 2014, lawyers Bradley J. Edwards and Paul G. Castle filed documents in a Florida court accusing Andrew of taking part in sexual activities with a minor named Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre, whose maiden name was Virginia Roberts, claimed she had been trafficked by Epstein and forced to have sex with Andrew on several occasions. She said one of those incidents took place in London in 2001, when she was 17 years old, and others happened in New York and on Little St. James Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. According to her, Epstein paid her $15,000 for having sex with Andrew in London. Flight records confirmed that both Andrew and Giuffre were in the same locations at the times she mentioned. A photo also emerged showing Andrew with his arm around Giuffre's waist, while Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, stood in the background. Andrew's supporters have long claimed that the picture was fake or edited, but Giuffre insisted it was real and said she was too scared to refuse Epstein's orders, believing he had enough influence to have her killed or abducted. Giuffre later filed a civil lawsuit against Andrew, which was settled privately in February 2022 for an undisclosed amount. In August 2019, newly released court documents from another case between Giuffre and Maxwell included testimony from another woman, Johanna Schoberg, who said Andrew touched her breast while posing for a photo inside Epstein's house. Around the same time, the New Republic magazine published an email exchange from September 2013 between John Brockman and Evgeny Morozov, where Brockman described seeing a British man called Andy getting a foot massage from two Russian women at Epstein's New York home in September 2010. He later realized the man was His Royal Highness Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. In November 2019, BBC Newsnight arranged the now infamous interview between Andrew and Emily Maitlis, filmed inside Buckingham Palace on the 14th of November and broadcast 2 days later. During the interview, Andrew said he met Epstein in 1999 through Ghislaine Maxwell. However, this conflicted with an earlier statement from his private secretary in 2011, who claimed the two had met in the early 1990s. Andrew also said he did not regret being friends with Epstein, explaining that the people and opportunities he encountered through Epstein were very useful. When asked about Giuffre's accusations, Andrew denied with her on 10th March 2001, saying he had been at home with his daughters after attending a party at Pizza Express in Woking with his eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice. He claimed he had no recollection of ever meeting Giuffre and absolutely no memory of the famous photo taken at Maxwell's house in London. He also said he had hired experts to determine whether the picture was fake, but the investigation results were inconclusive. He added that he had never been upstairs in Maxwell's home and doubted the authenticity of the photo based on his clothing, saying the outfit shown were his traveling clothes, not something he would have worn while staying in the country. Andrew also disputed Giuffre's claim that they danced together at Tramp nightclub, where she said he had been sweaty. He argued that this could not have happened because he temporarily lost the ability to sweat after suffering what he described as an adrenaline overdose during the Falklands War. Several doctors later told the Times newspaper that this explanation was medically unlikely, since adrenaline usually causes excessive sweating, not the opposite. Interestingly, it had been noted in the past that his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, was never seen sweating in public, though Andrew did not use this as an explanation. He admitted that he stayed for 3 days at Epstein's New York mansion in 2010, even though Epstein had already been convicted of involving a minor. Andrew described the stay as being simply a convenient place to stay. However, he later admitted that it was a serious mistake, saying he kicks himself daily for the decision and that it was not becoming of a member of the royal family. He said he only met Epstein on that occasion to tell him they should cut off contact permanently, calling it the honorable and right thing to do. He even described himself as being too honorable for his own good. Andrew added that if necessary, and after consulting his lawyers, he would be willing to testify under oath about his connection with Epstein. So, what was the outcome of the interview? Let's find out. Fallout of Prince Andrew interview. Maitless and the Newsnight team believed that Queen Elizabeth II had approved the interview, though insiders from the palace who spoke to the Sunday Telegraph disagreed. One of Prince Andrew's official advisors, who had warned against the idea, resigned just before the interview happened. Although Andrew was happy with how it went, even giving Maitless and the Newsnight crew a personal tour of Buckingham Palace, the reaction afterward was overwhelmingly negative. Both the media and the public in the UK and abroad criticized it harshly. Many described it as a car crash and even compared it to a nuclear explosion in terms of how damaging it was. It was widely seen as the worst public relations disaster for the royal family since the death of Princess Diana. Hannah Bardell, who was then the Member of Parliament for Livingston, called the interview sickening. She said that Prince Andrew showed no remorse or concern for the women who were abused and failed to see the problem with being friends with Epstein. She added that the abuse of power shown by Andrew was unbelievable. The Guardian wrote that the interview showed a shocking gap between Andrew's calm and self-centered tone and the serious nature of the allegations around him. The newspaper described it as a clash between the self-absorbed language of a prince and the horrifying reality of abuse of young girls by his friend. On November 20th, 2019, Buckingham Palace announced that Prince Andrew would stop performing public duties for the foreseeable future. The decision, made with the Queen's approval, also included a statement saying that Andrew sympathized with Epstein's victims. In the days that followed, Andrew stepped down as Chancellor of the University of Huddersfield. Soon after, the accounting firm KPMG announced it would not renew its sponsorship of his pitch at Palace program, and Standard Chartered Bank also pulled its support. The palace later confirmed that Andrew would step away from all 230 of his royal patronages. On January 28, 2020, U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman said that Prince Andrew had given zero cooperation to federal prosecutors and the FBI in their investigations into Epstein, despite his earlier promise in the Newsnight interview to help authorities. In April 2020, reports stated that the Duke of York Young Champions Trophy would no longer take place, as all operations by the Prince Andrew Charitable Trust had stopped. The following month, it was revealed that the Charity Commission was investigating the trust over payments totaling £350,000 made to Andrew's former private secretary, Amanda Thirsk. According to The Times, senior figures in both the British Army and the Royal Navy found Andrew's behavior embarrassing and felt he should lose his military positions. Newsweek later reported that most British citizens believed Andrew should be stripped of his royal titles and extradited to the United States to face questioning. In 2021, Sigrid Macaulay, one of the lawyers representing Virginia Giuffre, said that she believed the Newsnight interview would actually help strengthen the case against Andrew in the legal action Giuffre was pursuing. Macaulay stated that the interview itself would become evidence in the case. In January 2022, Queen Elizabeth II removed all of Andrew's military affiliations and royal patronages and declared that he would no longer use the title His Royal Highness in any official capacity. On October 12, 2025, British newspapers revealed that Andrew had sent an email to Epstein on February 28, 2025, 11. More than 2 months after he told Emily Maitlis he had cut off all contact with Epstein. In the email, Andrew wrote, "We are in this together and will have to rise above it." Later that month, Andrew announced that he would stop using his title of Duke of York and give up all associated honors. On October 30th, Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles II had started the official process to remove all of Andrew's royal titles, honors, and styles, including the title of Prince. After this, he would be known simply as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. On November 2, 2025, the Defense Secretary John Healey said in an interview on the BBC programme Sunday with Laura Kunsberg that the UK government, following advice from King Charles II, was working to remove Andrew's honorary title of Vice Admiral of the Royal Navy as well. In 2020, Emily Maitlis won the Network Presenter of the Year award at the RTS Television Journalism Awards, while the Newsnight interview received both the Interview of the Year and Scoop of the Year awards. The same episode and production team were also nominated for the news coverage category at the 2020 British Academy Television Awards. Will Sarah Ferguson, Beatrice, and Eugenie manage to avoid being dragged into the family scandal? Let's take a closer look. Impact of Andrew's scandal on his family. The scandal surrounding Prince Andrew is largely his own fault, but it has had a big effect on his immediate family. His ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, and their 2 daughters. Ms. Ferguson, 66, has also been affected because of her past connections to convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. She will now move out of Royal Lodge and make her own living arrangements, although it is believed she will not move to Sandringham in Norfolk with Andrew. Princesses Beatrice, 37, and Eugenie, 35, will keep their royal titles since they are daughters of the son of a sovereign. Ms. Ferguson lost her Duchess title when Andrew gave up his Duke of York title. Until recently, she had largely avoided the controversy linked to Epstein. However, in September, several charities cut ties with her after an email from 2011 appeared, in which she called Epstein her supreme friend and seemed to apologize for publicly criticizing him. The only charity she is still connected to is her own foundation, Sarah's Trust. The charity used to have a Duchess collection, products like tea and biscuit sets to raise money, but the website for it is no longer active. The charity focuses on helping vulnerable groups, including forgotten women around the world. BBC News tried several times to contact the charity to ask if its cause is appropriate given Ms. Ferguson's links to Epstein, but the listed phone number was not recognized and emails bounced back. Outside of charity work, Ms. Ferguson runs several business ventures and has written multiple books, including children's books, non-fiction about Queen Victoria, and her own memoirs. Her latest children's book, initially set to be published on the 9th of October according to a press release from Bookseller, is now available on Amazon from the 28th of November. Waterstones bookstores told BBC News that the release of Flora and Fern, Kindness Along the Way, had moved, but they did not have a new date. Her publisher, New Frontier Publishing, has not commented, although one industry source told the BBC that delaying the book would be an entirely sensible decision. Other publishers of her books have stayed quiet about whether they will continue working with her. HarperCollins, which released 2 of her books, including A Most Intriguing Lady in 2023, declined to comment, but confirmed both titles are still in print. Neil Denny, editor of the book trade website Book Brunch, said publishers usually do not drop authors outright, they just quietly do not renew contracts. He added that while there has been speculation about a potential memoir from Ms. Ferguson, or Andrew, publishers would likely be cautious about taking on the ex-Duchess of York's story. Beatrice and Eugenie have kept their princess titles, which is a small win for Andrew, who likely wanted to protect his daughters even at his own cost. Both seem to have left the UK this week. Beatrice was seen at an investment summit in Saudi Arabia. Her family has long-standing ties to the Middle East, and she also appeared recently in a promotional picture for a UAE bank. Eugenie was seen in Paris with friends. While there has been some sympathy for the princesses, they have not completely avoided their parents' scandals. A photo recently resurfaced showing Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Harvey Weinstein at Beatrice's 18th birthday party in Windsor. The Telegraph also reported a leaked email from Epstein's UK lawyers suggesting that Ms. Ferguson and the princesses visited Epstein in New York after he was released from prison in 2009. A source close to Mrs. Ferguson told the newspaper that neither she nor her daughters remembered such a visit. In 2018, Beatrice told British Vogue in a joint interview with Eugenie, "We are young women trying to build careers and have personal lives. And we're also princesses and doing all of this in the public eye. The princesses are not working royals, and both have jobs. Beatrice founded the advisory firm, BYEQ, and Eugenie works at the gallery Hauser and Wirth. Both are married with children. Beatrice divides her time between her property in the Cotswolds and an apartment in St. James's Palace, while Eugenie lives between Portugal and a property in the grounds of Kensington Palace. Royal sources said that the late Queen's corgis will still be looked after by Andrew, Sarah, and their daughters, although it is unclear which home they will live in. Both princesses also run charitable projects. Eugenie created the Anti-Slavery Collective, a charity focused on victims of sex trafficking. According to the most recent accounts, it raised £1.5 million in donations last year, but has distributed very little, with £1.3 million carried forward. BBC News reached out to the charity for a comment in light of the latest controversies, but it did not respond. Family life will clearly be more difficult now. Andrew is moving to Norfolk, so he will no longer be close to his daughters and grandchildren. Ms. Ferguson, who stayed close to Andrew and lived with him at Royal Lodge despite their 1996 divorce, will also move. The Times reported that Andrew finally agreed to leave his Windsor mansion after it became clear that his ex-wife would move out. Ms. Ferguson's representatives declined to comment. It is still unclear where she will move. She recently sold her Belgravia flat, which she bought for £4.2 million. Land registry records still listed in her name, but her spokesperson confirmed to BBC News that the sale has gone through. What was the relationship between Andrew and Epstein? Let's find out. Andrew and Epstein connection. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, once known as Prince Andrew, became one of the many famous people linked to Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier. Andrew has said that he first met Epstein through Epstein's girlfriend at the time, Ghislaine Maxwell, in 1999. He later described their meetings as rare, claiming they probably happened only once or twice each year. Andrew also admitted that he had stayed at several of Epstein's properties over the years. Epstein himself died in his prison cell in New York in 2019 while waiting to stand trial on serious federal sex trafficking charges. Andrew's connection to Epstein was further highlighted by photographs published in the Palm Beach Post showing him at a charity fundraiser in 2000 at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, where Maxwell was also present. Just months later, Epstein and Maxwell appeared alongside members of the royal family at a grand party at Windsor Castle, hosted by Queen Elizabeth II. The celebration marked not only Andrew's 40th birthday, but also Princess Anne's 50th, the Queen Mother's 100th, and Princess Margaret's 70th birthdays. Andrew's ties to the couple continued over the years. In 2006, he invited Epstein and Maxwell back to Windsor Castle for the extravagant 18th birthday ball of his daughter, Princess Beatrice, an event covered by Britain's The Sun on Sunday newspaper. Epstein's criminal record grew more serious in 2008 when he pleaded guilty to 2 state prostitution charges. He was registered as a sex offender, a deal that let him avoid facing federal charges. When did Andrew sever ties with Epstein? Let's find out. The end of Andrew and Epstein. The long-standing friendship between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein has continued to spark serious questions about Andrew's judgment, especially considering that at the time he was a fully active working royal, a role he officially gave up in 2019. In her book, Virginia Giuffre goes into detail about 3 occasions when she says she had sexual encounters with the prince. Once in London, once in New York, and once on Epstein's private Caribbean island, Little St. James. She claims that Andrew correctly realized she was underage in the United States when they first met, and that Epstein gave her $15,000 for servicing the man tabloids called Randy Andy. Giuffre also repeated a claim from a 2015 sworn declaration that her third encounter took place during what she described as an orgy on Epstein's island, involving Epstein himself and approximately 8 other girls, many of whom appeared to be under the age of 18 and didn't really speak English. In 2022, Andrew reached an out-of-court settlement with Giuffre after she filed a civil lawsuit against him in New York. While he did not admit any wrongdoing, he did acknowledge that Giuffre suffered as a victim of sex trafficking. Throughout the scandal, Andrew has consistently denied all allegations against him, insisting that he never witnessed, suspected, or was aware of any of Epstein's criminal behavior. In a now infamous BBC interview in 2019, he stated that he had cut all ties with Epstein back in 2010. However, a newly revealed email from 2011 has cast doubt on that claim. Earlier this month, the Mail on Sunday and The Sun on Sunday reported that Andrew seemed to reach out to Epstein once again, telling him to keep in close touch and insisting that they were in this together. Andrew has not publicly responded to these reports. At the same time, London's Metropolitan Police confirmed that it is actively looking into a report from the Mail on Sunday, which alleged that in 2011, Andrew asked a police officer assigned to him as a bodyguard to gather damaging information on Giuffre. So, what do you think about the Prince Andrew and Epstein scandal rocking the royal family? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.